All right, let's get started on the final presentation for the semester. This one is on SSH, Zayden Schmeckpepper, and I do have to say I've been enjoying putting these off to the last minute, but this time I did do something different and got it done a full day before it was due. So we're talking about SSH. Secure Shell, or SSH, is a commonly used network protocol that allows for secure remote access servers. Unlike older protocols such as Telnet, SSH utilizes encryption to prevent eavesdropping and unauthorized access. It is widely used for system admin, remote command execution, and secure file transfers through SCP and FTP. SSH operates using both symmetric and asymmetric authentication. Initially, asymmetric encryption is used to establish trust through public-private key exchange. Following the establishment of a connection, it switches to symmetric encryption, such as AES algorithms, to encrypt the communication. SSH supports multiple authentication methods, with PKA being the most secure and password-based being the least. Ubuntu server comes with OpenSSH pre-installed or very easily installed. It is also the service we're going to be talking about for this presentation. By default, SSH runs on port 22. The main configuration file is located at etc/ssh/ssh_config, which is where settings such as authentication methods and access controls can be adjusted. Because of the usefulness of SSH, it is a prime target for attackers. If left unsecured, it can be vulnerable to brute force login attempts, unauthorized access, and other exploits. Hardening SSH reduces the risk of compromise and strengthens overall server security. The first step in securing SSH is disabling password authentication and using SSH keys. Passwords can be guessed through brute force attacks, while SSH keys are much stronger. Here's how to do it. First, generate an SSH key pair on your client machine using SSH key gen -TED25519 capital C with your email address. Copy the public key to the server using SSH-copy-ID user at server IP. Then edit the SSH configuration file and set password authentication to no, set public authentication key to yes, disable passwords, and enable PKA. Restart the SSH service with sudo systemctl restart SSH. Now only key-based authentication is allowed. To further secure SSH, we can use IP tables to restrict access only to trusted IP addresses and drop all unauthorized SSH connection attempts. Allow SSH access from a trusted IP using sudo IP tables -a input -p tcp-s with your IP address, dport 22j accept. Drop all other SSH connection attempts with sudo IP tables -a input -p tcp-port 22-j drop. Then save IP tables rules to ensure persistence after reboot with sudo netfilter-persistent save. Then check to make sure the rules are properly enabled with sudo IP tables -L-N-V. I'm going through this a little bit fast on those. All of the bash commands are in the liner notes for this. To further strengthen SSH, we can implement two-factor authentication using Duo Mobile. This requires an additional step beyond SSH keys for secure access. And yes, I did specifically pick Duo Mobile since it's the one that we use at KSU, but also because I don't care for the Microsoft Authenticator that much, and I hate Google. I just hate Google. The important part is setting up MFA for SSH, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. First, you're going to install the Duo Security PAM module. By installing the required dependencies with sudo apt update and sudo apt install libpam-duo. Then configure Duo on the server. Sign up for a Duo security account and create a new Unix application. Obtain your integration key, secret key, and API host name from the Duo admin panel. and edit the Duo configuration file located with sudo nano /etc /duo /pam_duo conf. Add the following, replacing placeholders with actual Duo credentials: Duo IE key equals integration key, SK equals integrate your secret key, host equals your API host name, and then step 3, enable two-factor authentication for SSH authentication. Edit the PAM authentication file for SSH with sudo nano or whichever text editor you like /etc/pam.d/sshd, and add this line at the top: auth required pam_duo.so. Enable challenge response authentication in the SSH configuration file. Set challenge response authentication, all one word with capital letters at each, to yes, and then restart SSH to apply the changes with sudo systemctl restart SSH. After entering an SSH key, users will receive a Duo push notification on their Duo mobile app. They must approve the login request before gaining access. This setup ensures that even if an attacker has access to an SSH key, they still need to verify login through Duo Mobile, adding a stronger layer of security. I really like multi-factor authentication, and this was a little bit different than anything we'd seen, so I made sure to include it just because I like multi-factor authentication. Additionally, we're going to harden SSH with AppArmor, just like we have done everything else. We use the mandatory access control built into AppArmor that restricts what processes can access. By applying an AppArmor profile to SSH, we can prevent unauthorized file access and limit its capabilities. First, ensure AppArmor is installed and running with sudo apt update and then sudo apt install appArmor which all of ours should be, but it's never a bad idea to make sure and then verify it's active with sudo systemctl status appArmor. Then we're going to check and see if an AppArmor profile for SSH already exists with sudo aa status grep sshd. If the profile is missing, we can create one with sudo nano etc appArmor.d/user.sbin.sshd, and then add the following to the profile to limit SSH access. Profile sshd space /user/sbin/sshd would include abstractions of base, user sbin sshd mr, etc sshr, ett ssh/wildcard r, var run ssh.pid rw, capability netbind service deny home, bunch of wildcards read. So basically we're just allowing SSH to have no write privileges except where it is needed. Everything can read, but it can't actually do anything, or it is denied. Then we'll load the SSH AppArmor profile with AppArmor parser, read from the location, and put the profile into enforce mode to apply restrictions. Sudo aa-enforce at the location, and restart SSH to apply the changes. AppArmor ensures SSH can only access necessary files. It prevents this profile prevents SSH from reading users' hidden files located at home/wildcard/wildcard, reduce the impact of potential SSH exploits. By applying this AppArmor profile, we enforce strict access controls over SSH, limiting its ability to interact with the system beyond what is necessary for normal operation. But security is not just about setup, it's ongoing. Keep OpenSSH updated to patch vulnerabilities and regularly check logs for suspicious login attempts using sudo journalctl -u ssh since 1 hour ago. Installing fail2ban can help block repeated failed login attempts automatically. To summarize, SSH is a critical tool for remote administration, but it must be secured. By using SSH keys, changing the default port, restricting access, and enabling two-factor authentication, we can significantly reduce the risk of attacks. Always keep your SSH installation updated and monitor access logs. gone over the best practices. And then finally, here are my references.